Hi, I'm Mike Barr. I'm Director of Coaching for Eastern Pennsylvania Youth Soccer. I'm here with April Cater, who was just appointed U14 Women's National Coach. And I guess the first question I want to ask you, April, is you must be excited about your new position. Could you describe to the people in Eastern Pennsylvania your role with U.S. Soccer at this point?
I'm very excited to get the opportunity to work with the top players in the country and to imprint on them as they begin their journey with U.S. Soccer. It's an honor, actually. I feel very honored to accept the position and to be offered it. I also think it's an important position in that I'm going to be imprinting on these players when they first get involved with U.S. Soccer and the message, the language that we use, the style of training that we do. One of our big goals is to try and merge all the different age groups with the consistency that it's been lacking in past decades, where what they're going to be exposed to at the U14 level will be somewhat familiar territory when they go in with the U15s or if they make the cycle to the U17s. So my job is to start that first wave of consistency with the players.
But I think a big question a lot of the parents have, and players too, is how the identification process works within the United States in covering such a vast land and so many players. How do you go about looking for the best players at the U14 level?
Yeah, it's one of the big challenges for U.S. Soccer is that we're a large country. There's 1.5 million girls playing organized soccer right now. And every single one of those players is technically in our pool. It's a matter of using resources like yourself, people at the grassroots level that are right there developing the players that can give us recommendations. We go to a lot of different events. We have a scouting network where we assign people to go in to a multi-day event where they're just simply there scouting for U.S. Soccer. And we have certain attributes about players that we know we need to look for, that we key in on. One of the big areas that we're stressing is the technical level, that the technical basing of players has to be at a higher level, even at the younger ages. That's something that we key in on right away when we're looking at players. But we'll utilize showcases, training centers, ODP, ECNL, non-ECNL events and teams. It would be silly for us to completely put blinders on and focus on one avenue when there's many different avenues and paths a player can take, and it's our job to investigate all those paths.
Is there one technical flaw you see within girls at the U14 level that is pretty consistent?
It's a little bit twofold. One, players are still one-sided too much, meaning they're more comfortable with their right foot versus their left, or vice versa. We get these really talented players that are left-footed, naturally left-footed, but then when it comes to their right foot, they have the exact same problems that these right-footed players have. Is at the younger ages, when you do skill training, you have to utilize both feet. It makes such a difference, especially for your playmakers, your finishers. But the one technical aspect, that's an area of the body where we have to retrain at a younger age, is the ability to strike driven balls with the ear and step. And age-appropriate distance will come, but getting that actual technique down where players know how to strike a proper ball with their ankle locked and driven over distance, whether it be a goalkeeper, a center back who's splaying balls to their wingers, we see that lacking in key players and key positions in all age groups.
I know your success as a coach, obviously, but and I'm aware that you were Harmony Trophy winner, 3-time All-American.
It's a long time ago.
But did you play other sports growing up?
I did. Back in the 80s, and I was fortunate that I grew up in a well-populated area with very good organized sports and good coaches. Is soccer back then, it couldn't be full-time unless you made it full-time yourself and went out in the backyard every day. But club season had a season back then. Right. It wasn't a year-round calendar. So in order to stay engaged, and I was very competitive as a kid, I had 3 older sisters, so I had to be. I enjoyed basketball for 7 years, and I enjoyed softball. And I even thought about doing track. But I think I really enjoyed the team aspect, team sports, so I gravitated towards doing other team sports. And I tell you, the different muscle groups that I trained, my vertical and my lateral quickness, now kids are specializing at an early age, so you see a better level at a younger age now than when I played. But You're also seeing a bit more wear and tear. You're seeing players and parents struggling with what's a healthy training cycle then. And it's not a bad thing to specialize earlier, but then you've got to be smart about how much you're doing
Sure.
and when and why.
Okay, so, I mean, there's not a certain age where a young lady decides, I'm going to focus on soccer at this point. I mean, is there an age you can think of that maybe they should start looking at one sport as opposed to playing two or three?
I know even back then in the late 80s when I was graduating high school, I knew by my sophomore year that I was gravitating towards soccer. Anything extra was soccer. There was no extra towards basketball.
Sure.
It was purely in season. But by then, I was doing indoor leagues for soccer. I was doing ODP, which took up time in the summer. Tournaments, showcase tournaments with my club team. So soccer was more of now becoming a full-time commitment. It still had a pretty healthy calendar to it, where basketball and softball were more school commitments.
Yeah. Did you play with boys growing up?
I did. At
Now,
first, I didn't have a
do you think
choice.
that's something we should be doing more often in this country at this point?
You know, it's interesting. We've become so organized, and it's got its pros and cons. There's opportunity with organization. Young girls in every corner of the country now are finding opportunity, or it's evolving to that, which is fantastic. But when we get too organized, we get to the point where the kids don't know how to think for themselves, like how to pick teams
Sure.
without hurting feelings, or how to set up your own field and make your own rules. And there's no real backyard mentality anymore, where that has hurt a little bit in terms of having that competitive edge and being okay with not being picked first, or being okay with being cycled out and having to re-earn your way. But playing with boys was the hardest thing I did, being introduced to the sport, but it was the best thing I did. It was tough getting picked on because you're the leading scorer on a boys team and you were the only girl. But it made me tougher skinned. It made me compete. And back then, physicality-wise, there was no difference. It was at U9, U8, and
Sure.
U9. I know that I missed playing with the boys when I first started playing with the girls, and it wasn't a knock on my teammates.
Right.
It was just a different atmosphere. They were going hard all the time. And that's what I was used to with playing on my street and backyard mentality with all my neighbors.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we can get back to that mentality where people are just going out and playing because they enjoy the game so much.
Yeah.
It bothers me sometimes to be so adult-driven, but the things you're saying and things you're doing here at this workshop have refreshed me a little bit about the direction we're going with our U.S. national team. It's been a thrill to have you, and can't wait to see you again, and I hope you have a continued success.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.